and welcome back. Today we'll be digging into Boruto 255, entitled A Tricky Assignment. It's definitely the humble seal to this arc, and it felt pretty satisfying. I gotta give it to it. With that said, let's get into it though. For starters, in this episode, we're back in the Leaf. The softer music with the scenes, especially the opening scene, really speaks to that, and it suggests a tranquility that, I guess, contrasts the mayhem of the previous episodes, as it was in the mist, right? Overall, though, it's a pretty nice change of pace. Ultimately, this app really ties together the loose ends of everything, as we got to see everybody's story get some closure. For example, you see Buntan and Kyoho at Kagura and Hibichigo's gravesite, addressing their plans for the future. In this moment, we see how what transpired with the war changed them and provide them a new approach to their goals. Marching to this same beat, you see Kabuno at his father's gravesite, along with one of the Funado elder statesmen. I thought that this scene was a nice tie-in as well, because it doesn't really undermine Kabuno's loss. He's still very much so grieving the loss of his father, and additionally, he's still drawing inspiration from him in some way. I think this proves the beauty and innocence of childhood, right? And having a quicker ability to forgive and love despite. And obviously, this is the result of his newfound understanding too. Especially that being bolstered by the support of the people around him, because you heard the guy who was with him say like, hey, I'm gonna be your caretaker now. And ultimately you heard Kabuno say, he wants to be strong like his dad, and he takes it even further by saying he wants to be stronger. He wants to be stronger than anyone, and instead use that strength to protect. So I thought that was a really nice, beautiful, and meaningful moment to close off that, I guess, side story with him. On the note of tying up loose ends, we got to see Team 5 make an appearance as they had a conversation, or should I say a small argument with Kawaki. We see that they're also evidencing growth from their experience though, as they were speaking on the idea of ending war through less volatile means. And obviously Kawaki, as he's been very I gotta give it to him, this dude has been consistent all arc long, and I love it. I really do love it. It brings a sense of realism to the story, right? But he's, amidst this conversation, he's standing firm in his belief that their style of thinking is naive. It's nice to see Team 5's growth though, particularly Metalese, as he's more impassioned. I feel like watching the scene, like I was really looking out for it. Like, is he gonna be different? But he does seem a bit more impassioned and confident and outspoken than I've ever recalled seeing him. And that's the testament to, I guess, the value in integrating side characters into bigger stories. I mean, one, the audience gets to see them develop, and then two, you grow a greater affinity for them. With that dialogue between Team 5 and Kawaki in mind, the focal point of this episode seemed to be Kawaki and Boruto's differences coming to a head and to a resolution of its own. We got to explore Kawaki's perspective a bit more through his conversation with Team 5 and also his talk with Boruto in the Hokage office. And then on another note, we see Naruto having this beautiful moment with Boruto as they stand overlooking the village while having a conversation about their ideals. For me, this was the highlight of the episode. One, because such moments between these two characters are so rare because of the demands on Naruto's post, right? And this rarity, though, is what makes them always a delight to see and ultimately very meaningful. And then secondly, it was a highlight because of the message within it as they explored their similarities with one another, or shall I say, a key similarity between the two. I think this revelation of their shared values is made more beautiful because it's seemingly intrinsic, right? Whereas it's not like they spend a whole lot of time together and Naruto's constantly giving them lectures and showing them like, hey, this is the way to go. But despite, the fact that they don't spend much time together, and despite their natural differences with one another as well, like they aren't really the same people. Despite that, they ultimately share the same heart, and it's beautiful to see that on display in this scene. With that said, in this case, they're related to the desire to end war no matter the personal cost, and more specifically, having a willingness to lay down their life, or their lives, shall I say, for a friend in the process. This speaks to their willingness to take on the hatred and pain of another person so it doesn't perpetuate and ideally freeze them. Once again, we're seeing this beautiful Christ-like stance or idea, which has been the pulse of the Naruto franchise and is obviously extending to Boruto as well. Ultimately, I love this dialogue between these two, and how Naruto himself doesn't pose to have it all figured out. I mean, this arc has done a good job of that too, I'd say. Like, allowing these figures of leadership, being Chojo and Naruto, to obviously have a sense of humanity or not be deified in the sense of them knowing or having it all figured out too. Like, they're both in positions where they're constantly learning and trying to achieve their dreams, although obviously Naruto has done a great deal regardless in achieving a lot of what he wanted to see happen. But I say this to say, when asked what's the answer to all the war, he goes on to say that he's been thinking about it all this time. I mean, think of it, it's been his life's mission. So to hear someone like him say that, like, this is what his journey's been about, he goes on to say, I mean, it's good to hear, but he goes on to say that if it were so easy, if there was a simple definitive answer, there wouldn't be so much struggle taking place. Which is a strong point on his part, because it proves that even in maintaining this resolve of his for peace and a better society or a better way to deal with problems, he's not void of the awareness that life isn't perfect and that it takes time and effort to make some level of change. And even then, some people still may not understand and agree. So I thought that was a pretty nice point made by him. With that in mind, though, he tells Boruto that despite not having a single or simple answer for it all, what he has found in all of his striving is that in order for you to realize your dream in some capacity, it takes preparation, resolve, and a strong desire to never give up. And obviously here, this is a tapping into his relationship with Sasuke, or his experience with Sasuke, reflecting on the keys he needed to use to save him and restore a semblance of peace to the ninja world. Ultimately, I thought that this was a beautiful scene between these two with a beautiful message, as contrary to the common belief that such thinking requires naivety. I mean, we saw Chojo say it at one point, we see Kawaki saying it. Naruto shows an actual awareness that things aren't so simple, highlighting that people will hold grudges or be against you no matter what you do. But despite this, it's about the choosing to hold fast to your belief, and he gives his keys on how he did it and saw results from it. On a lighter note, shifting gears a bit, back in the Hidden Mist we see Arayumi, and he has definitely had better days. Seeing him was a bit of a surprise, to be honest, as I thought that he was dead, but apparently he's been captured and placed under strict surveillance. In this episode, Mitsuki, in his wisdom of course, sheds light on this reason for his survival, right? As he calls out Kawaki's quiet belief and understanding of Boruto's idea of peace, despite him not wanting to fully surrender to such ideals. With that said, it proves that his swipe at Arayumi's neck, which I thought was fatal, and I mean, usually neck blows are intended to be fatal, but on Kawaki's part, it was intentionally not made to be fatal, although it very well could have been. And I think that's a sign of some slow but steady character development for Kawaki, as he seems to be coming around to Boruto's way of thinking, albeit begrudgingly. Additionally, we see an element of change in Chojo back in the Mist, as he admits to his leadership's error in advancing modernization with little consideration of how it was going to affect others, particularly the Funato clan. Therefore, despite the feudal lord wanting to see those affiliated to be punished, we see Ikeda instead be a beneficiary of Chojiro's change of heart and perspective, as he's essentially freed and forgiven. but reasonably, it's with some exception, of course, as he'll be placed under supervision and in care of Kajiki, with whom he'll fortunately be given the opportunity to realize his shipbuilding dream. It was really nice to see that too, that his dream didn't really die, along with his temporary detour. And finally, fast forward to the showdown between Kawaki and Boruto, though. Ultimately, it was a parallel to Naruto and Sasuke's final brawl. At least that's how I saw it. It just felt like the same tone, the same pacing, like that fight till exhaustion, right? And Naruto is well aware of this, as he told Sarada and Mitsuki to let them fight it out. Additionally, this fight seemed to be a foreshadowing of the opening scene of the anime as well, where they face off with one another in the future. I enjoyed this largely because it wasn't expected, for one. I wasn't expecting this or any physical conflict in this episode, to be honest. And despite a couple of choppy animation moments, I'd say the more transitional parts of it, it seemed like they did put some time and care into making it look and feel believable, and I do appreciate that, along with it serving as evidence of Naruto's point. And this point is that conciliation or peacemaking isn't so simple. I mean, we said it before, and Naruto said it before, but this fight to me was the physical manifestation of it. It was the metaphor for it. But yeah, it's not so simple. It may look like fighting it out, which is really Kawaki's stance. But what are you fighting for is the question. Is it with the intent to kill or the intent to change? And this is more in line with Naruto and Boruto's perspective. So it was a really nice moment to see. And it seems to me that from it, one can already assume what the outcome of their future fight will be. But we will have to see. Nonetheless, this anime seems to be much more about the journey than the outcome. So, well, as is life, right? But I'm looking forward to seeing how they pull it all together in the end. And with that, we've come to the end of today's review. This episode was nothing too crazy, and it definitely gave a good sense of closure, particularly to the side stories within the arc. Beyond it, it looks like we'll be seeing Shikacho shine a bit in the next one, and I do anticipate the anime slowing down for a while, as they seem to be getting into that groove where they do more episodic stories, focusing on the other characters, and I'll take it as it comes. I will take it as it comes. So with that said, though, thank you so much for tuning in and sticking around. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and feel free to drop a comment. And if you want more content like it, I invite you to subscribe. Until next time, thank you so much once again. I hope you have an awesome day and many beautiful days ahead. And as always, we will chat again soon.